Our topic for today is arrays and array list. So we'll first define what is an array and we'll define what is an array list. So an array is a collection of data that is simple and has the fixed size. This is basically the same with arrays in C. So what about the array list? Array list is still a collection of data, but it now has a dynamic size. So its size can actually change. So let's look at some difference between an array and an array list. So an array, again, has a fixed length. Its length can never be changed. Once we declare an array, we will need to specify the length. While for the array list, it has a variable length. What does this mean? The length actually changes dynamically to accommodate the data that you have. For declaring an array list, you do not need to specify the length. It will use a default size that will adjust as the data changes. Another difference between an array and an array list is the data types that it can hold. So an array can have a primitive and objects as its data types. So primitive data types, that is your int, char, that is the primitive data types. Objects, this is your defined objects. While for the array list, it can have an object and generics as its data type. So what is this generics? Generic classes enables programmers to specify with a single method declaration a set of related methods, or with a single class declaration a set of related types respectively. What does this mean? Generic classes allows you to have only one class that will adapt to your defined data type. For example, if you were asked to create a sorting method for an integer array and a string array, you will actually create two methods. One method for sorting an integer array and one method for string array. What will happen in generics is actually you will create one method for sorting both the integer array and the string array. So the class will actually adapt to what the specified data type will be. So it will only need one method and it will sort for both integer array and the string array. The performance of array and array list is almost identical. Both can insert and retrieve data in constant time. But if you have a lot of data, array is preferred because it is slightly faster than an array list. So let's go to the implementation. First, create. How do we create an array and how do we create an array list? So the syntax for array is you will need the data type followed by the bracket, and it will get the array name equals new the data type with a curly bracket with a bracket. Inside the bracket will be the array size. So for example, int bracket test array will get new int with a size of 10. So you can do the declaration and initialization of array just like in C here in Java. So we have there in line 7. So the syntax for creating a collection of objects is the same with creating a collection of primitive data. So you can see that in line 8. What about the array list? The syntax for creating an array list is you will need the keyword array list followed by an angled bracket. Inside the angled bracket will be the data type, followed by the array name equals new the keyword array list, followed by the angled bracket data type inside, and opening parenthesis with the array size inside. So the data type and the array size in the right side of your equal sign is actually not required. It is optional. So you can see there in line 6 for array list that we did not put anything in the data type and the array size. So only on the left side we will need to specify the data type. So you can still put that the data type and the array size in the right side after the equal sign, just like in line 7 and in line 8. So for inserting a data in array and array list, so inserting data in an array is similar to C. So we'll just say test array. You will specify the index and what will the value that it will get. So that line of code will actually set the item at index 3 to 7. What about the ArrayList? So ArrayList will actually use a method called add. It will require a parameter. This will be the value that you will store. So what will happen if you did test list.add where the parameter inside is 7, it actually adds 7 to the end of the list. So it adds to the end of the list. For retrieving data in Java for array is the same with C. So X will get test array index 3. So you will need to specify the index. What about the array list? You will use the method get. Inside it will actually ask for a parameter which is the index of what you are trying to get. So that line of code there will actually get the items at index 3. So length. There are actually ways to get the length of an array here in Java. So you can just say test array dot length. It will actually get the length of that array. For array list, you will use the method size. It has no parameters. So it will return the length of that array list. For demonstration and activities of arrays and array lists, please go to your class and it will be performed by your teachers.